And welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers here with you again. This is a show where we talk to interesting people about interesting subjects. And this week we're going to talk about a subject that impacts every community across the country, and Oklahoma City trying to do much better in this specific category.
Yes, dealing with the animals that are present in our city and within the city limits and environs. We, of course, have now, thanks to the efforts of our guest that's coming on in a few minutes, a Humane Society to assist us in dealing with some of the spaying and neutering problems. And, of course, euthanasia is always a difficult subject for pet owners to think about, and we're going to be talking about what we have come to call the no-kill policy, which is an alternative to euthanasia of these pets. It's really a progressive idea that's getting its start here in this community fairly recently and making some good headway. That's what we want to talk about. I don't know about you, but we have a house full of pets at our house. We have 2 dogs, a one-legged cat, a skink, a bunch of fish, a frog, and 2 birds. I couldn't think of what kind of birds they were, but so we've got our own Humane Society going.
Well, I have something pretty similar going on at my house. I just bought crickets for my gecko just the other day. We'll be discussing a lot of issues with Christy Counts today. She'll be discussing nationwide what issues that this country is facing as far as the way it takes care of animals, and specifically what's going on in Oklahoma. It's coming up next on The Verdict.
Every day America uses clean-burning natural gas instead of coal or oil is a day of victory for our environment. That's why Chesapeake chose to explore for natural gas exclusively, and we've never looked back. Because natural gas burns twice as clean as oil or coal, and reducing carbon emissions to combat potential global warming is every bit as urgent as cutting our dependence on energy imports. As America's #1 driller of new gas wells, Chesapeake is moving fast to find untapped reserves of natural gas here at home. It's the right fuel for America's economy and the fuel for a clean air future. We just happen to be early to see it so clearly. Chesapeake, natural gas wins the day.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we have Christy Counts. Christy is the founder and president of the Central Oklahoma Humane Society. She's a native of Oklahoma City, did her undergraduate work in college at the University of Oklahoma. She's been working in the animal welfare system both on the outside and the inside in Oklahoma, in Colorado, and in New York. She founded the Humane Society here in Central Oklahoma in 2007. This is her first visit to The Verdict. Christy, welcome.
Thank you.
We were discussing before the break that you said you'd always known you wanted to be involved in this line of work. Talk about those early discovery years when you were having your babysitter drive you to the shelter.
It was a secret from my parents. You know, when I was a little girl.
Your secret's safe with us.
Yeah. When I was a little girl, I was just really totally enthralled with dogs. That was my thing, was dogs. And as I started getting older and realizing what was happening to dogs in our country, that's why my career went this direction, as I realized that what I loved the most needed a lot of help. I didn't set out to be a nonprofit. I just ended up there.
Well, discuss the issue nationally and how Oklahoma City kind of fits into the national picture of all this.
You know, it's interesting. You know, been have been doing it for so long. I've been watching the trends in the country, and I remember back when I was in Oklahoma City before I left, after college, and that, spay-neuter was kind of a new concept, but has taken off all over the country because in the entire country, the euthanasia numbers are overwhelming. It's about 4 million dogs and cats are euthanized every year in the country. And in other parts of the country, specifically the East Coast and the West Coast, and a lot in Colorado as well, they've had well-founded organizations that have made a lot of movement over the last 15 years and have made communities that are a lot farther along. In Oklahoma City, we face a special challenge because we've got a lot of space and a lot of rural areas and a lot of agricultural areas, so we specifically have a bigger problem than most, I believe.
What motivated you to found the Humane Society for Central Oklahoma?
Well, when I got back to Oklahoma City, I, wasn't sure yet what I was going to do, and I got involved with Animal Welfare Division in Oklahoma City, and Catherine English, the superintendent, I befriended her, and she started talking about the fact that the city really wanted to go no-kill, and that was their goal. And when I realized that, I knew that I wanted to be a part of that, and that I could really benefit the city in that respect. And so I took a job at the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter as an animal welfare supervisor, which I feel was one of the best things I've ever done, because it really gave me a really intimate look at what the shelter really faces, which few people really know unless you work there. And so that gave me a unique perspective and also helped me develop relationships with people around the city that are involved in animal welfare as well as the people in the city. And when we started looking at the no-kill goals and what we were trying to do, we realized that the city needed a humane society, and shockingly enough, we did not have a long-standing humane society here. And I don't really know why. The answer is that I think everyone assumed we had one.
What are the goals, or what's the mission of the Humane Society?
Well, generally in other communities where they've had humane societies for 40, 50, in New York City's situation, 100 years, there's a separation. There's animal control, the municipal shelter, and then the Humane Society, which is more programmatic, that focuses more on animal welfare and the volunteer programs and adoption and all the issues that surround that, and as opposed to animal control. Here in Oklahoma City, everyone assumes that the Humane Society is the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter.
Yes.
So
but
now,
it's not.
It's not.
How do you look long term? How will the roles be separate from what the city does and what the Humane Society does? How would you like to see that evolve?
Well, it's an interesting question because the city is really overburdened right now in what they can do, and the population of animals is growing rapidly along with our population of people, and therefore, they've got limited budgets, and I would like to see eventually the city be able to focus its resources on animal control, bite cases, cruelty issues, and the Humane Society focus on adoption, volunteer, foster program, advocacy, and increasing animal welfare in our community.
I've heard that in some of the material that you were kind enough to furnish before the show and in other sources, that in some places or with some groups, the no-kill policy is controversial. Explain first for us, if you will, the no-kill policy, and then why it's controversial.
Well,
can be controversial.
Yeah, what's controversial about it is basically the words "no kill" turns a lot of people off. They think that means that what we're going to do is warehouse all the animals and keep them out in sanctuaries and just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the animals don't really have a quality of life. You get a hoarding situation. That's not what the definition of no-kill is. And the problem is around the country, even if you go to seminars and conferences, no one has come up with a better definition of what we're trying to do, although we know that a lot of people don't understand it. But what no-kill means is we would stop euthanizing healthy, placeable dogs and cats. We would still be euthanizing animals that have behavior problems or aggression problems that weren't safe in our community. And we would still be euthanizing animals that were too ill to save. We would be saving all animals that were healthy and treatable.
So adoptable animals would be adopted. Those that are deemed unadoptable would not be adopted. But it's still called a no-kill policy, even though, for obvious reasons, some animals would have to be put to death.
Yes, yes.
Well, are there communities around the country now that have indeed adopted a no-kill policy for long enough to be able to judge the results?
Yes, well, long enough, and that's kind of a different beast, but yes, there have been communities in the last couple of years that have achieved no-kill. And it's not really a policy as much as it's a goal, because you can't just say we're going to stop euthanizing healthy adoptable animals unless you have somewhere to put them all. It's really kind of a big master plan to stop the intake of animals and get the ones that you have adopted out. So it's really a goal more than a policy. But yeah, there has been communities that have achieved it and are doing very well, and those communities, when you speak with them, really believe it has much greater issues involved with when it comes to community and compassion and crime and all sorts of other things that are tied into animal welfare issues.
One thing we haven't discussed is the number of volunteers. How many people currently in the Oklahoma City area are actively volunteering in one organization or yours?
Gosh, I would say that right now we've been in existence for a year and a couple months, and we have over 200 volunteers and growing rapidly. And I'm shocked by the number of people that are calling me on a daily basis that are so excited about what we're trying to do that they want to get involved in going no kill. And traditionally they weren't involved in animal welfare issues because they felt like they couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now, even at the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter, we're seeing great progress, and people are hearing about it, they're getting excited, and they want to join the mission. All sorts of people, young and old.
What do volunteers typically do when they volunteer with your organization?
Oh my gosh. We have volunteers that handle, marketing and media. We have volunteers that do outreaches and adoption program and all the management of that. People that handle the foster program. We have spay-neuter clinics, so the volunteers work in the spay-neuter clinics. We were speaking before the break about the advocacy committee, and we've got lots of different committees that people work on specific projects that advocate on behalf of us, and it's endless opportunities.
We need to get to a break. We'll
Okay.
come back and we'll discuss more on the Humane Society and animal welfare in the state of Oklahoma. Christy Counts is our guest, and we'll be back with more from Christy right after this.
Home values are down in some states, but not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's home values have increased 4.2% during the past 12 months. Unlike some states where home values have decreased as much as 20%. Good thing you're in Oklahoma. There may be real estate problems in some states, but there has never been a better time than now to buy or sell a home in Oklahoma. One of the most affordable states in the country, Oklahomans are buying and selling homes every day, and an Oklahoma realtor can show you how. Good thing you're in Oklahoma.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. Today's guest is Christy Counts with the Oklahoma Humane Society. Kent, where to now?
Let me ask you, how many animals are being euthanized, at the Oklahoma City shelter, for instance, on an annual basis?
At the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter on Southeast 29th last year, 19,000 dogs and cats were euthanized.
And what's the policy of the shelter? How long would an animal be there before they'd be subject to being euthanized?
3 days. They hold a stray animal for 3 days in order to give the owner a chance to reclaim it. And it can only be 3 days because they get that many animals in that day. They don't have space to hold them longer.
What happens on a 3-day weekend? Do we stick with the 3-day policy? Or?
No, there's, for example, Mondays don't count because the shelter's currently closed on Mondays. And then on holidays don't count either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How close is Oklahoma City to having a no-kill policy? Have we crested? Are we heading down? I mean, I know the infrastructure is there with your organization, but as far as the numbers go?
The Oklahoma City Animal Shelter has been absolutely smoking lately. They've been doing so well. In fact, this month over last year, this month adoptions are up 30%.
Adoptions
huge.
are up 30%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's year to year, you say?
Yeah, this month from last year, this
Right.
month, and really they've been doing incredibly well. Now, what's happened is, so we've gotten a lot of media attention in terms of all the efforts in the city, and then also the city lowered their adoption fee, which was huge in terms of placing more animals, and then in terms of getting volunteers involved and public awareness. So, that has helped a lot. So our intake, however, has increased 8%. But our euthanasia has decreased 2%. So that's pretty significant. And but we have to address the intake problem. Spay neuter has got to be a major thing here in Oklahoma City.
Let me make something clear, at least to me. I don't know whether it's clear to our viewers or not, but of course the Humane Society is a private organization, a charitable organization. The city animal shelter is run, I guess, by city employees.
That's
so
correct.
It's an arm of the city of Oklahoma City.
And volunteers, but yeah, it is an arm of the city.
Oh, say, let me straighten something out. I said at the outset that I had a one-legged cat. We don't have a one-legged. We have a three-legged cat that has lost one leg, obviously. So now that the record's straight, I can go home again. Well, what causes Oklahoma City's overpopulation of animals?
I think there's just been a real general lack of awareness here in Oklahoma City as to what's really going on. It's remarkable how many people I'm out there in the community talking to, major community leaders who don't understand the numbers that we're talking about. We're talking about the Ford Center. I mean, that many animals are being affected every year. So, that I think is one major reason. And again, not having a humane society has put us far behind in terms of letting the public become aware and putting the programs in place that are going to make a difference.
Well, does the Humane Society have other missions or functions other than this no-kill policy?
Yes. I mean, our mission is to enrich the community we serve by increasing the welfare of animals. Our number one goal is making Oklahoma City a no-kill community, and then Metro Oklahoma City no-kill, and then working in other areas like animal cruelty and all the different issues that affect animal welfare, because animal welfare is so much more than just one shelter. It involves the community in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. And what about the feral cat issue that I know you've been addressing lately?
Yes, I'm the mad cat trapper. Feral cats are a major problem in our community, and a lot of people don't realize that unless they actually are experiencing it.
And a feral cat is a stray cat, basically.
Well, it's a wild cat. It's
Okay.
a cat that you can't even touch. But yet someone's feeding it in a neighborhood on a porch, and usually that one turns into 20 or 30 within a couple of years. And so they're a real nuisance in the community and a real problem. So, and then all their litters year after year end up at the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter, and then they get euthanized. Tons of them. So what we've done is we've incorporated a national program called Trap, Neuter, Return, which has been identified as the only real way to solve feral cat colonies, because if you just take them out of the colony and euthanize them, the colonies actually get bigger. But if you take them out, you spay and neuter them, you vaccinate them, and return them to the colony, then the equilibrium of the colony stabilizes and the cats will die off on their own. So we did 1,400 feral cats this last year. We trapped, neutered, and spayed 1,400. And already have seen a significant difference at the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter this year in the terms of how fast, how early in the spring we started seeing litters of kittens. We saw them much later this spring, which was a great sign. And so we anticipate over the next couple of years really seeing cat intake at the shelter drop from the feral cat program.
That feral cat program is a program of the society, then,
Yes.
not the shelter.
No, but the shelter's participating in
Sure.
it. In fact, all the cats that are on public property, like the lakes and parks that are trapped there, the shelter is spaying and neutering those cats.
Let's talk about cost. What is the no-kill policy going to be more costly to the citizens?
It's not necessarily the citizens. I think that a lot of the private sector was going to step up because there's a lot of capital costs and program costs that have to be addressed for this. While we're getting there, yes, it's going to be expensive, but in the long run, it's going to save people a lot of money. I mean, the shelter cost taxpayers a lot of money. $999,000 of taxpayers' money went to euthanizing just healthy adoptable animals last year. That's just euthanizing them. So, that's significant. And in terms of tax dollars, if we don't need to be having 30 officers out in the street and paying for their gas and all their vehicles and all the things that go on with the shelter, then that's helping the taxpayers.
If we would achieve a no-kill policy, how would that impact the work of the animal shelter? The animal shelter is not going to go away, but would it diminish its role?
Well, yeah, it would have they'd be able to focus on, animal cruelty issues, which is also a major issue in our community, and animal control issues. I mean, there's always going to be an element of stray dogs on the street. Now, I hope not nearly like we're experiencing now, but the shelter's so overburdened that they can't even answer all their stray dog calls right now. So we're hoping that they'll be able to focus on that, and animal welfare will shrink into an animal control agency and not be burdened with all the things they're burdened with right now.
It would just be a higher level of service. For instance, if you call in right now and say there's a stray dog in my neighborhood and the city's going to send someone out, are they going to come in 1 hour or are they going to come tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And as a higher level of service, you have a much higher chance of catching that stray dog and finding out whom it belongs to. Mm-hmm. Well, where are we right now? And how does Oklahoma City compare to, in this region, to Tulsa, to Dallas, to Houston, to other large cities that are expansive in an area like ours?
Well, pretty comparable. We did a study on all of our peer cities, places like Kansas City, Tulsa, Tucson, all our peer cities, to see what numbers they were dealing with and where they were. And so far, there's not one of our peer cities that has achieved no kill. So we want to be the first. And I think that would be an incredible deal for Oklahoma City to be the first. Now, everyone's working on it in some way, shape, or form. But we're pretty comparable, although we have a very high intake. Dallas is doing really well, but they've had an SPCA for a long time, and they've got multiple locations, and they work with the animal control. But really the key element to going no-kill isn't just a humane society in the community, it's a partnership between the Humane Society and animal control, which is really a fairly new phenomenon in the country.
We have just a few seconds left. What can people do to help you in your goal?
Spay and neuter their pets. Adopt pets, don't buy them from pet stores or the newspaper. And then call us and come volunteer and get on the bandwagon.
And you have a website where people can get more information?
Yes, it's www.okhumane.org.
okhumane.org. All
Yes.
right. Christy Counts doing great work in Oklahoma City in this area, and I encourage people to get on that website and find out more information about what she and her other volunteers have going. We're really appreciative. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Kit and I'll have a final word after this.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett, Camp Myers. We've been visiting with Christy Counts of the Humane Society, and we don't have a whole lot of time, but I did want to give out the Humane Society web address because I really encourage people to go there and be a part of this organization. It's okhumane.org. That's okhumane.org. And of course, you can go to our website, theverdict.tv, and get information about this show. Final word?
Well, great program that Christy's involved in, and we wish her success.
Absolutely. And we'll be back next week with another show on The Verdict. See you then.